Sam was the MD of Smitey International Limited. This company was a Nigerian subsidiary of a large American company. The company was struggling before Sam was employed from a competitor company to manage her affairs. Sam came in and helped build it up again. From a nowhere, Sam took the company to an enviable height, to the extent that the company, which was struggling a few years back, became the darling of the industry. The company began to win prizes both locally and internationally. Other competitor companies were even sending their staff to come in and get trained by Sam's organization. Sam and his staff were well motivated by the shareholders of the company. Morale was very high and profit grew to levels that were unknown before now. Sam, as the MD, was well motivated. His pay and other benefits were very good, and even more than the industry standards or what other competitors were paying their staff. But in spite of all that, Sam still felt unsatisfied. He wanted to do something of his own. He was tired of growing the business of other people and wanted to grow his own business. Experience had taught him that a company remembers you as long as profits were being made. The moment things begin to look a little ugly, they will send you packing without a blink of an eye. He felt that it was better to bow out now that the ovation was very loud. It was against this background that he decided to establish his own company called Sam Otis Limited. Sam was the MD CEO of his own company. He was to put all the energies and experiences he acquired over the years to build his own company. The company progressed and everyone was happy. Sam had seen a news item in the papers about some foreign investors who were leaving the country and want to divest from a particular arm of their operation. They therefore needed another company that could buy them off. Sam got interested in the deal. He did his due diligence and discovered that this was a real gold mine, the type he really needs to put more strength into his existing company. If he could get this deal through, it will help boost both visibility and profitability of his present company. Meanwhile, they told him that his bid was among those that have been penciled down. They will be called at very short notice to sign the deal because the owners were leaving very soon. So Sam began to wait for the possible phone call. Sam happened to be a believer in the word. He began to meditate on the expectations of good news. He had faith, patience, and trust in God to bring him the good news. He knew that God has a way of using the waiting game to test our faith. That God's ways are not usually the same with those of men. That what man sees as a number of years may just be a thing of minutes in the eye of God. He has always known that God's plans are usually for good. While this was going on, man has to wait and continued in prayers for the good news to come. He had therefore continued to see himself as having received the business deal. He had seen himself receiving a phone call telling him that he should come and complete the process. Certainly, it will come to pass that way. He knew that doubts of any form should not get into his mind. To begin to doubt the process is like the man who is praying that rain should not fall, but in going out carries an umbrella. What a contradiction. He always believed that something good will happen. He was full of expectations, as this was one buy that will bring his company into prominence. So he prayed and waited. He knew that destiny delayed is never destiny denied. Then came the much expected call. The sale had been approved and the papers now ready for signature. But there was a little problem. He had just 1 hour to sign it. The owners were there waiting. They have a flight to catch within the next 2 hours. He must therefore be there before then, else they will give it to the next person on the line. But he knew that when God says yes, no man can say no. It will take Sam about 1 hour to get there. That is bearing any major delays on the road. He must therefore avoid any form of distraction on the road so as to get there in time. He hopped into his car with Stella by his side and drove off. If he does not get there in time, all hopes would have been lost. But that was not part of his thinking. Like he thinks, you cannot be praying that rain will not fall and still carry an umbrella when going out. Neither should you doubt the fact that your prayers will be answered. Before he left the house, his wife, Stella, looked him in the eye and suggested that they commit the whole thing to God once more. And they did. He knew that when man's strength runs out, God's hand begins. The road was busy, as usual, but Sam was very focused, his heart racing faster than the speed of the car. Stella sat beside him, very prayerful for his success. She had been one big pillar in Sam's life, always acting as support in times of need and great pressure like this one. Then the traffic light appeared in front. They must stop. It had changed into red. This part of town is known to be notorious for many reasons. A lot could happen the moment one is stuck in traffic. If it is not one of the jobless boys coming to your side to ask for money, some notorious persons may try to distract your attention from one side while another would be accessing your car from the other side. Sam had therefore made it a duty to always wind up and pin down the doors by using the central lock system. While waiting for the traffic light to instruct them to go, Sam's eyes were very alert and all over the place to ensure that none of those unwanted persons take him by surprise. While he was busy looking out for those notorious boys, a bike rider lost control and slammed into the back of his car. Sam immediately lost focus, opened his car door, went down only to see that the bike had damaged one of his rear lights. Ordinarily, the biker should have at least apologized, but this one was rude. He began to abuse Sam instead. He pulled off his shirt and was ready for a fight. Sam took a good look at him and remained unruffled. He had better things to do, and time was not on his side at all. People were beginning to gather to watch a free show. Some brought out their phones and were ready to record the much expected showdown. Stella saw what the devil was trying to use the biker to do. She quickly came down, went to Sam, talked some sense into him. He quickly came back to his senses, restrained himself, went back into the car and calmed down. He remembered the saying that not every fight is worth fighting. At that point, the traffic light had changed into red again, and they had to wait once more. But while all this were going on, the biker climbed onto his bike, put it on, and drove away against the red light. Some policemen standing by the other side noticed the breach and stopped him. At that point, he slumped onto his bike and did not make any further move. After some time, and he still did not move, the policemen touched him, but there was no response. A closer look showed that he was no longer breathing. He was gone to the great beyond. While taking in the whole scenario, the traffic light changed to green and Sam began to drive away. He had a very important assignment and time was not on his side at all. But deep down inside, he began to think, what could have happened if he had lost his temper and fought the biker? He probably would have slumped and gone in the process. At that point, nobody will agree that he was not the one responsible. That is, if the miscreants around did not introduce jungle justice. In situations like that, common sense would have taken flight and emotions would have run riot. There is no way he will be talking about the real reason he was on this route today. The scene he had just witnessed was a chilling reminder that life is very fragile. One moment we are here and another moment one is gone. It is therefore very important that we exercise caution. You just do not know who amongst the many persons you see walking the streets is a walking corpse or one funeral waiting to happen. They finally arrived at the place. The executives have already packed their luggage. An Uber was there waiting to pick them for the airport. He eventually signed the papers, hands trembling, and his heart beating harder than that of a predator that had just missed a prey after a very fertile chase. He felt relief now that the deal had been sealed. He then sat down to think about what he had gone through on the way here. He was still sitting there thinking. He hardly knew when their luggages were put into the Uber. He was only brought back to life after the horn of the vehicle honked for their departure. The journey home was very eventless. When they got home, the first thing they did was to kneel down together in gratitude. He knew that the Lord had been with him, because what could have happened if he had lost his calmness? Or what could have happened if he had decided to push the rider off while he was pulling his shirt? What could have happened if he had given him a slap and the rider had slumped? What could have happened if the rider had slumped after he had shoved him away? It was a lot of questions. He began to tell himself that God has been with him. Just one moment of restraint had changed his destiny. Sometimes your greatest victory is not in fighting back. Your greatest victory may just be in your ability to walk away. One thing clear here is that if God is with you, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. On another note, if you were placed in Sam's shoes, what would you have done differently? Fight back? Walk away in the face of outright provocation? Or what? If you have listened to this story, please like, share, and subscribe. You may also wish to leave a comment on the comment section of this video. When you do this, it will enable us continue to bring you interesting stories like this one in future. Thank you for being there.